Hey everyone, welcome back to our daily read aloud of Summer of the Secret Squadron. Today we are starting with chapter 13. We went back to the store to retrieve the box from Dad. We kept details about the library to a minimum, just enough to say that we didn't find anything and that we were on our way back to the lean-to cave now. We rode our bicycles back to the house and dropped them in the front yard. Emily Ann and Caleb were outside in the driveway with Jared and Lauren Jackson. "What you got in the box?" Emily Ann wanted to know. "Just something we found today," I said, not wanting to go into a long, drawn-out story. "I want to see," said Caleb. "Well, come inside. You can see what we found, but you can't touch." I knew my little brother and sister's handiwork too well. We went inside to show Mom as well as the other kids our new discovery. We took the books and badge out, but with a lot more care this time. I told Mom what Mrs. Jackson had estimated the possible value of the comic books to be. Mom was, once again, amazed at our find and promised to keep the box well out of the way of Caleb Scissorhands and Emily the Ghostwriter. We were ready for the next leg of the journey, so we grabbed our sandwiches out of the fridge along with some drinks and headed out the door. "Where are you going now?" Caleb asked. "We've got to make a trip down to the bayou," I said. "We'll be back this afternoon." "I want to go," Caleb begged. "Me too," Emily Ann added. "You know you can't go to the creek without Mom or Dad," I reminded them. "Well, that's not fair," Emily Ann whined. "Yeah, that's not fair," Caleb repeated. "Well, don't whine to me," I said. "Go talk to Mom. She makes the rules." Caleb and Emily Ann ran back inside the house, as if we were going to wait and see if Mom could make an exception this time. Of course we weren't. As soon as they were back inside, we took off. We went on foot because although going down to the bayou on a bicycle was quite fun, having to pedal or push the bicycle back up 300 yards was not an idea of a good time. Most of the bayou where we played and explored was owned by the Sweetwaters, who were very generous, allowing us to use their property as if it were their own. The bayou itself was a beautiful crystal clear stream that flowed year-round, thanks to several springs that fed into it. The beach was very sandy and changed easily with any big rainfall. Often, the bayou would swell dramatically, only to recede quickly and leave what we called tidal pools, where small fish and big tadpoles would be trapped for us to catch. But being the middle of July, there were no pools, just lots of dry, white, and very hot sand. Normally, we might have waded across the flowing stream. It was only about 30 feet across where we played, and most of that was knee-deep or less. Only one small section of the stream got deep, and it was usually about 4 feet. But there was also a good-sized pipe that went across the bayou that you could easily get to the other side if you had good balance, and one by one we tight-roped our way across the other side. Once across, we made our way through a thick forest of bamboo that some homeowner had planted years ago and had gotten way out of hand. Whenever we needed a new cane pole, we knew where to get one. Lean-to Cave was just up on the other side of the steep hill. Maples, oaks, and hickories grew all through the creek's valley and around the cave as well, but it was the thick underbrush, vines, and briars that made the going slow. When we finally arrived at the base of the large leaning rock, we were a little out of breath. We dropped our packs inside the shady cave and cooled off with some water from Logan's canteen. "Now, where are we supposed to dig?" I asked after we had rested. "It said at the southwest base of the rock," Sumner informed us. Sumner seemed to have a photographic memory. "Let's see." Sumner held up his compass. "I guess southwest is that way, so I guess back there is the southwest base." "Well, I've got the shovel. Let's get digging," Logan said, making his way to the other side of the rock. We decided on a spot, and Logan took first dibs at digging. It was rough going. The ground was hard and dry and full of rocks and roots. Logan hadn't made it 6 inches before he was passing the shovel to Sumner, and the further down we dug, the harder it was. Sumner made it down a few more inches and handed the shovel to me. "Do you think we're digging in the right place?" Logan questioned. "Well, this is the southwest side," I said. "We might be a little off, but I think we're in the right place. We just need to widen the hole once we get down a little further." "What was supposed to be hidden here anyway?" Logan asked. 2 Texans and 4 wheat rolls, Sumner dictated. Oh, yeah, Logan said, making a sour face. I don't think I want any 60-year-old wheat rolls. Well, maybe the 2 Texans will be something worth finding, so let's keep digging, Sumner encouraged. So I kept digging. I got down about a foot, and we decided to start working on making the hole wider, which was much easier. Still, we hadn't found anything. I passed the shovel to Logan once again, and he dug for as long as he could. Still, nothing. Logan expressed our frustration. We can't give up yet, I said. We've only been digging for 10 minutes. Well, it seems like a lot longer. Logan handed the shovel to Sumner. Let me and Sumner dig one more time, and if we still haven't found anything by then maybe we'll move somewhere else, I said. But as Sumner made his first plunge into the hole, we heard a small thud that we had not heard before. What was that? Logan's eyes widened. It was something, Sumner explained, kneeling down to rake away the dirt from where he had sunk the tip of the shovel. Sumner pulled out 2 pieces of broken green glass from the hole. You know what that is? I asked. A glass lid, like the one we found in my room. You're right, Sumner agreed. The rest of the jar is down here as well. Sumner began using the shovel to dig around where the top of the jar was located. Finally, he was able to use the tip of the shovel to pry the jar from the roots and the dirt that fought to keep the jar in its hiding place. Hooray! We cheered when we saw the jar lift from its tight hole. Logan grabbed the jar and held it up. Although dirt had fallen into the jar after Sumner had broken the lid, we could see now what the 2 Texans were. Guns. Not real guns, of course, but cat guns, like a kid would have. Logan reached into the wide-mouthed jar and pulled one out. It still looked good, which was strange because it was obvious the jar had not done a great job of keeping water out or dirt. I pulled the other out. They were all metal, silver, ornately etched, and the grip of each gun had the head of a Texan longhorn on each side. Stick 'em up! Logan pointed his gun at the 2 of us. These are pretty cool, I said. You can't buy these like this anymore. What else is in the jar? Sumner wanted to know. Logan squatted down on his knees to dump the contents of the jar onto the floor of the cave. With a few hard shakes, something began to fall out. Sumner bent over to pick up one of the odd clumps. Pennies? He wondered aloud. We all picked some up and began to analyze the wads of corroded pennies. Suddenly, it dawned on me. Of course! That's what the wheat rolls are, I said, knowing. Summer and Logan just looked at me. Don't you see? These aren't just any kind of pennies. These are, or at least were, wheat pennies. Pennies made before a certain date were imprinted with stalks of wheat on the tail side. See? I said, holding out one of the coins. They were probably in those paper rolls when he put them in the jar 60 years ago. Yeah, I've got some of these at home now that I think of it, Sumner remembered. Are they worth a lot of money now? Logan wanted to know. I really don't think so, I said, shaking my head. They may be worth a little more than a penny, but I don't think it's much more than that. Well, I'm still glad we found this stuff, Logan said. We're 2 for 3. That means the loot still may be up on the Landers Theater. Sure looks that way, I said. Has anyone thought of a way to get up there yet? Not yet, Sumner and Logan both said. Well, what do you say we stop here and eat on it? I said, looking at my watch and smiling. It's right at 12 o'clock. I say we eat our sandwiches and figure out a way to get up on that roof. Sounds like a plan to me. I'm starving, Sumner said. Me too, Logan agreed. All that digging made me hungry. And that's the end of this chapter. Chapter 14. We decided to eat up on the top of a bluff, at the top of the leaning rock, which was where we usually went when we brought food up to the cave. The edge of the bluff was large and flat and made a great table. There was a great view and usually a nice breeze blowing. You could see most of downtown and some of the taller buildings at Lyon College. There were 2 ways to get up to the bluff. You could walk around and go up the hill, but that was too easy. The other way was a bit trickier. Tying a small rock onto the end of the rope, you then threw that end up to the top of the leaning rock, hoping you could finesse it through one of the spaces where the rock and the bluff did not touch together. Once through, you coaxed the rope down to where you could tie it off inside the cave. Took 9 tries, but Logan was the lucky one who threaded the needle that day. Up on the bluff, we pulled out the sandwiches and cokes from one of the packs and dug in. I couldn't remember when I had ever been so hungry before. Ham and cheese always seemed to taste better outdoors, and washing it down with a warm Coke made it that much better. We gulped everything down so fast that we hardly had time to think about the landers, except, I guess, for Logan. He was being particularly quiet, which was unusual. A mouthful of peanut butter had never kept him from talking before. Suddenly, we knew why. He had come up with an idea. A crazy idea, but it was an idea. "I know how we can do it," Logan proclaimed. "You do? How?" We were all ears. "The zip line," Logan said, as if we would immediately say, "Of course, why didn't we think of that?" "The zip line? Are you nuts?" asked Sumner. The zip line Logan was referring to was a cable that my dad had rigged up in our backyard that ran from our tree house down to an old clothesline pole. We could zip down using a hand trolley Dad had made from plywood and some pulleys, just like they did on those old army commercials on television. "Just give my idea a chance," Logan pleaded. "I repeat, you are crazy," Sumner said. "Okay, let's hear him out, Sumner," I said. "Then we can make fun of his idea." "Forget it," Logan said in disgust. No, go ahead, tell us, we'll listen," I said. "Right, Sumner?" "Go ahead, tell us your brilliant idea," Sumner said with more than a glint of sarcasm. But Logan didn't care. He wanted to tell us. "Okay, you know how we can get on top of Field's office supply? Look, you can see it from here. And the Fields building is a little taller than the Landers. That's perfect for zip line. We can zip right down to the Landers' roof." "And how do we get the cable onto the Landers' roof?" I asked. "Do y'all never watch television? We do it just like we got this rope up here," he said, pointing down to the rope below us. "What?" I was confused. "Okay, maybe not just like that, but I saw this show one time when they needed to get a big rope across this wide river, so they tied a long piece of twine to an arrow and they shot it across. Then the guys on the other side were able to pull the rope across with a piece of twine tied to the rope." "And how does that apply to this situation?" Sumner questioned. "Once we are up on the Field's roof, we get Ben's bow and tie a piece of fishing line or something to an arrow. Then we shoot the arrow all the way across the roof and down to the other side. We tie the line to the cable while someone on the other side of the theater unties the arrow and pulls the line until the cable is all the way across the Landers' roof and down to where we can tie it off. We tie the other end to something up on the Field's roof, and there you have it. We just zip across." "We just zip across," Sumner said, mocking Logan. "Okay, now we can make fun of him." "Logan, do you realize that there would be 3 stories up when we were doing this zipping?" I said. "I know that, but it's no different than when we zip out of the treehouse. If we don't look down, we won't know the difference," Logan said. "Oh, yes, we will know the difference," Sumner assured him. "And still, you're crazy." "Well, it's an idea, but let's hope we can think of another way," I said. "Are y'all ready to get out of here and head to the bridge?" "Yeah, I'm ready," Sumner said, shaking his head. "I guess I am too," answered Logan, rolling his eyes at Sumner. And that is the end of chapter 14. Come back next time. I wonder if they're going to do that crazy plan.